You must be the one known by the mortal moniker Adam.
Yep, I do believe my fellow mortals call me by that name. How can I help?
I am an Ave sent to you to share my essence.
To share what you say? I think we're all good here in the essence department. So I take it you don't want an intake with me?
Your aura seems dim. Let me share with you my katra.
My katra? No, you're not sharing.
Well, this is a nifty little thing when it comes to not wanting your kids surfing the internet, right? Using their phones or being distracted at school. I got this from AliExpress for about $18 and, of course, was using it as my communicator for my Star Trek skit. But in all seriousness for a second here, somebody actually asked me if I was a Navi in one of my comments recently. And until I had to look it up online, don't worry, I didn't know what that was either. So apparently, in the religious sense, a Navi is a prophet or spokesman for God. No. The Navi from the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time does not apply here. And yes, I know that the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was the best Zelda game ever made. Duh. And we don't speak of the Wind Waker game. So getting back on track here, a Ranchian wouldn't necessarily believe in a sent prophet if you accept the term, or a mortal entity that is sent directly to us that speaks directly for God. However, there's exceptions to this principle, like the reserve core of Destiny. That includes workers, much like the corporeal staff of 100, that worked with our fallen planetary prince, that have special universe assignments, or even John the Baptist, that had a special world assignment for his cousin Jesus. A Urantian would typically believe that they can and do have the spiritual prowess to ascertain God's mind on their very own, not needing an intermediary. However, there have been times in the distant past when the emergency order was given to speak on behalf of Christ Michael, who was granted authority by our system sovereign, who hails from the Melchizedek order. If you have seen my 11Q Melchizedek or my Copen book videos, you will be familiar with the term Melchizedek, since both videos focused on a single influential figure of the order named Macaventa. However, today's video will be more inclusive to other personalities. That will also include our Vice Regent Planetary Prince once more. This will include references to the fraternal order in which they belong, along with their many other functions on distant planets in the grand universe. Quite frankly, it is the Melchizedek order of whom I am most excited to meet on higher worlds, since they truly are the apex of the bridge between the creature and God themselves. As a fun fact associated with references to the King of Salem found in the Holy Bible, they are likely speaking of Macaventa specifically, since he most certainly had interactions with Abraham, paved the way for Jesus, and was a priest of the Most High God. And lucky for you, since it looks like we're going to have time at the end of today's video, I will even reveal who this Most High God is, according to the Ranchi book. All right, let's dive in. The past panoramas of the local universe of Nebadon do not begin with the gasping breath of a mortal on a lonely planet, but rather in the sublime heights of Salvington, where the creator son, Michael, and the creative mother spirit first brought into being the elder brothers of the universe, the Order of the Melchizedeks. At the pinnacle of this extraordinary order stands the Father Melchizedek, the firstborn of his kind, a being of such profound wisdom and administrative capacity that he serves as the chief executive of the local universe whenever the creator son is absent on his bestowal missions, and fills in for his brother Gabriel whenever he's out of town. Out of town again? Gabriel, text me back. To understand the Father Melchizedek is to understand the very nervous system of universe intelligence and the bridge between the divine plans of the Paradise Trinity and the struggling evolutionary progress of worlds like Urantia. The Father Melchizedek does not dwell in the isolation of a remote deity, but is the active, pulsing heart of the Melchizedek worlds, a cluster of 70 primary spheres, revolving around the architectural capital of Salvington. These worlds comprise the Melchizedek University, the greatest educational system in all of Nebadon. This is not a university of remote memorization or cold academic theory, although these videos are better, but a vast laboratory of living experience where the ascending mortals of the realms, having graduated from the lower mansion worlds, come to master the correlation of all knowledge. Here, the Father Melchizedek presides over a faculty of millions, directing an educational curriculum that spans the entirety of universe reality, from the physics of energy matter to the highest reaches of spiritual philosophy. In the halls of Melchizedek University, the concept of sonship is transformed from a religious metaphor into a cosmic reality. The students who are the ascending sons of time and space throughout our local universe learn that sonship is a progressive attainment. They begin as mere creatures of the dust, yet through the indwelling presence of the Father Spirit, or by other means, they are gifted with the potential for eternal life. The Melchizedeks serve as the primary instructors in this journey, teaching the pilgrims of space how to synchronize their human wills with the divine will. The university is a place of intense socialization and fraternization, where beings from thousands of different star systems meet to realize their common brotherhood under the universal fatherhood of God. The Father Melchizedek himself actually walks amongst these students, not as a distant god or deity, but as a wise elder brother, embodying the perfect balance between the majesty of a divine son and the approachability of a master teacher. Whoa, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Faja Melchizedek, can you hear me? The Melchizedeks are known throughout the grand universe as emergency sons because they are the first to volunteer for the difficult tasks of rehabilitating worlds that have fallen into the darkness of rebellion or spiritual isolation. They are also a self-governing order, of which determines their own assignments and, of course, missions. When the Lucifer Rebellion plunged our system of Satania into confusion, it was the Melchizedeks who stood as the vanguard of loyalty, maintaining the circuits of communication and spiritual nourishment for the beleaguered loyalists. On Arantia, our own world, the legacy of this order is most poignantly felt through the bestowal of Makaventa Melchizedek. Yeah, I agree, that's a mouthful, but I don't think he likes his name either. Nearly 2,000 years before the birth of Michael in the flesh as Jesus of Nazareth, the spiritual light of Arantia had grown dangerously dim. The revelations of the corporeal 100 staff members of the Kalagastia eras had been lost or distorted, and the concept of a single universal God was vanishing from the realms of man. It was in this hour of spiritual emergency that Eminem, yeah, you probably think that's taking it too far. All right, we'll call him Makaventa. Right? It's fine. It was in this hour of spiritual emergency that Makaventa Melchizedek, a high-ranking member of the order, heroically volunteered to incarnate on Arantia. He did not arrive through the gates of natural birth, but appeared in the flesh, assuming the likeness of a Chaldean sage. And of course, for me, if you're trying to picture an image in your mind, I'm thinking like Jafar when it comes to the movie Aladdin. No, I understand he won't have a parrot. And of course, you're right. Nobody holds a candle to Robin Williams. Makaventa established his headquarters at a place called Salem, which would be later called Jerusalem. For 94 years, this sage of Salem lived among men, teaching a simple but revolutionary gospel, that there is but one God, Most High, and that his favor is won not by animal sacrifice or complex rituals, but by the simple act of faith. This was the foundational lesson of sonship, that man could walk with God through belief alone. The Father Melchizedek, from his throne on the University Worlds, directed the celestial support for Makaventa's mission. while Makaventa taught the rudimentary truths to the primitive tribes of Palestine. The Father Melchizedek ensured that the spiritual circuits of the planet were reinforced. The Salem schools, established by Makaventa, that became the radiating centers of truth that eventually reached the corners of the earth, from the fertile crescents of Mesopotamia to the distant islands of the sea. It was this very Melchizedek mission that eventually paved the way for the promised seed, which of course was the Creator's Son himself. No, I'm not crazy. It's actually in the Urantia book. No, I understand that you can't believe everything that you read online. Or is it that it is published? Or maybe it's both. The Father Melchizedek understood that for a world to receive the fullness of Michael's revelation, it first needed a sturdy foundation of monotheism and a clear understanding of the dignity of human sonship. At Melchizedek University, the curriculum emphasizes that sonship is not a static status, but a dynamic relationship. There are many orders of sons, the descending sons who originate in the heights of divinity and travel downward to serve the lower realms, and the ascending sons who begin in the lowest depths and climb the long ladder of light toward paradise. The Melchizedeks occupy the distinct middle ground, being the first order of sonship that possesses the full range of experience necessary to bridge these two groups. They are the great communicators, able to speak the language of the high gods and the stuttering dialects of the evolutionary mortals, like us. In the classrooms of the university, the Father Melchizedek teaches that the ultimate goal of all sonship is the Father's business, the collaborative work of perfecting the universe. The narrative of the Melchizedeks is also a story of administration and justice. The Father Melchizedek heads this college of high ethics and has actually visited our planet before on Mount Hermon when he and Gabriel were misperceived as being Elijah and Moses, found in 158 1.8 on the Mount of Transfiguration. The Melchizedeks are known for their mercy, yet they are the firm upholders of universe law. They understand that true freedom is only possible within the framework of divine law, and that the rebellion against this law is not an act of liberty, but a descent into self-annihilation. And like I've said in other videos, you cannot deny the very essence, the very being, the very God that sustains you. And if you're continuously iniquitous, well, that's literally cutting off your own life support. The students of the university witness these and various other proceedings, learning that the governance of the universe is a task of supreme responsibility and unwavering integrity. They see that the Father Melchizedek governs not by coercion, but by the irresistible pull of truth and the compelling beauty of divine wisdom. The concept of sonship, as taught by the Melchizedeks, also encompasses the mystery of the thought adjusters, the fragments of the Universal Father that dwell within the minds of humans. The Melchizedeks are the premier students of these divine monitors. They teach the ascending mortals how to listen to that still small voice and how to cooperate with its silent urgings. In the quiet groves of the Melchizedek worlds, pilgrims spend aeons learning the art of spiritual communion, gradually fusing their human personalities with their divine gifts until they become one inseparable being, a perfected Son of God ready to move forward into the higher realms of the constellation and the local universe capital. The Father Melchizedek's influence extends even into the physical realms of the universe. The Melchizedeks are experts in the energy matter of the worlds, often assisting the physical controllers and the power directors in the stabilization of planetary environments. They understand that the spiritual life of a world cannot flourish if its physical foundation is in chaos. Thus, this university offers vast departments of cosmic sociology and planetary management, where students learn how to foster civilizations that are both technologically advanced and spiritually grounded. As a fun fact here, it is often speculated by higher intelligences that those that are father infused will likely have some type of cosmic administrator role in the distant future, likely performing the role of planetary administrator in some future expansion of the master universe. However, when it comes to our own specific planet, the remote goal for similar planets like our own is the attainment of light and life, a state of planetary evolution where war, disease, and poverty are majorly eradicated, and the entire population lives in the conscious recognition of their sonship with God. As the ages pass, Father Melchizedek remains as a constant beacon of hope and stability in all of Nebadon, while creator sons may come and go on their missions to other universes, and while planetary systems may rise and fall in the cycles of time, the Melchizedek order stands as the eternal priesthood of the local universe. The original priest's function was never meant to be an intermediary to God, but to show you how you can reach God yourself. They are the custodians of the records of all personality, the keepers of the history of every soul that has ever dared to take the first step toward the Father. To enter the Melchizedek University is to be welcomed into the heart of the universe family, to be stripped of the narrow prejudices of one's world origins, and to be clothed in the broad perspectives of a citizen of the grand cosmos. The journey of sonship, as mapped out by the Father Melchizedek, is a journey of increasing light. It begins in the darkness of the animal nature, moves through the twilight of intellectual discovery, and eventually breaks into the dawn of spiritual realization. The Melchizedeks are the guides who carry the torch through the dark passages of transition. They're the ones who catch the falling soul when it stumbles, and the ones who cheer on the loudest when a mortal finally achieves the goal of paradise. Their university is a constant testament to the belief that every child of the Father, no matter how humble their origin, is a potential pillar in the temple of the eternal future. And mind you, we're pretty humble, the lowest God-knowing creature there is, at least in our universe. Kind of sucks, huh? It is just an added bonus that we actually have one as our acting planetary prince. For those of you who are new to this channel, a being of lower order, known as a Lenandadek son, generally holds this spot on similar planets like our own. And Makaventa is currently on loan despite speculations for his potential to be our universe sovereign one day. Contrast with the Holy Bible. The Holy Bible offers a significantly more constrained and enigmatic version of Melchizedek, compared to the expansive celestial history found in the Urantia book. In the biblical text, Melchizedek appears briefly in Genesis 14 as the king of Salem and priest of God Most High, who brings bread and wine to Abraham. He is a figure without genealogy, without father or mother, which the author of Hebrews later uses to frame him as a type or prophetic foreshadowing of Jesus Christ. The Bible treats Melchizedek primarily as a mysterious human contemporary of Abraham, whose priesthood is superior to the later Levites, serving as a scriptural bridge to justify the non-Levitical priesthood of Jesus. By contrast, the Urantia book removes the veil of mystery surrounding the Melchizedek order by identifying Makaventa not as a human king, but as a divine celestial being, one of a vast order of emergency sons. While the Bible sees him as a singular historical anomaly, the Urantia book explains him as a localized manifestation of a massive, universe-wide administrative and educational system, transforming him from a cryptic footnote in the Judeo-Christian history into a central figure in the spiritual architecture of the cosmos. In 92.3.4, we learn that among some of the surrounding tribes, he was often referred to as the Sheik, or King of Salem. Salem was the site which, after the disappearance of Melchizedek, became the city of Jebus, subsequently being called Jerusalem. This quote likely directly identifies the reason Makaventa was known as a king rather than a priest. So as a cool side note here, Makaventa actually had the honor of sharing the same thought adjuster as Jesus Christ. After Melchizedek's death, the adjuster became experienced and was later used as Jesus' experienced adjuster during his mortal development that eventually became personalized during Jesus' baptism, found in 136.2.3. That's correct. For those of you that guessed it, "This is my beloved son, who I'm well pleased," was a statement that came from the adjuster and not God directly themselves, even though a personalized adjuster is a fragment of God. So I guess they're probably two in the same. Maybe it's like a walkie-talkie, but who knows? All right, here's the moment you've been waiting for. The shocking truth, the bombshell revelation. And of course, one more being or entity that you have to remember. We learn in 93.2.1 that when Makaventa proclaimed his mission, he said, "I am Melchizedek, priest of El Elyon, the Most High, the one and only God." That the Most High he was referring to was not necessarily the Universal Father. In 35.5.6, we learn that the Most High observers belong to the Verandadek order, that in emergencies is promoted to Most High Region in 114.4.4. That have absolute and arbitrary authority over every celestial being assigned to the planet. We learn that they are the ones that rules the kingdoms of men. In 43.5.17, and in the same passage, Makaventa indicates that this Most High of Norladiadek, indicates that this Most High of Norladiadek, or our local constellation father that delivered Abraham's enemies into his hand. Interestingly, we find that certain archangels do not directly submit to the will of the Most High Observer for some mysterious reason. In addition, the Most High Observer also serves on a panel with said archangel and what is called a Governor General, of which was a role that Makaventa has already served as once before. Mind-blowing stuff for sure. But don't let all of these classifications of beings drive you crazy. The Melchizedeks are a great place to start, and it might take some time to meet a being of the Verandadek order in the distant future. Thank you again for watching today's video, your continued support, and I'll see you on the next one.